What was 10 years of waiting turned into 3 books over 2 years once everything comes out when it's supposed to come out. Like, how crazy is that?
I mean, I'm pretty much speechless. Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, books, beverages, and author conversations. I'm Bree, always ready to dive into new fantasy worlds and take a step back in time.
I'm Megan, part critic, always team physical copy, and forever chasing good thrillers and a great plot twist.
I'm Emily, your resident mood reader who thrives on chaos questions and lively book chats.
And I'm Jordan, equal parts heart, humor, and high-functioning caffeine addict. I come with coffee in hand, wine on standby, and a Gilmore Girls quote for every occasion.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Welcome back to Narratives and Nightcaps. It's summer in a small town with a blend of baseball, theater, and family rivalry. Cassie Miller is a former high school English teacher turned elementary librarian and now author. This year, she hit it out of the park with her debut, Meet Me Under the Lights. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Bree. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited.
I am also very excited. I feel like we've had this on the schedule for a long time, and so
Definitely.
I've been really looking forward to talking to you. Meet Me Under the Lights for me was such a wave of nostalgia because,
good.
Well, for some of the things we were talking about beforehand, it just really took me back. I'm not from like the Carolinas, but I am I'm from Iowa, and there were so many similarities too. I remember even thinking with Fairfield, there's a Fairfield, Iowa.
No, that's so cool.
So I was like, are we sure this is in the Midwest? But then too, my husband was a baseball player, and so you took me right back to those games, and yeah, so it was so fun, so cute, so heartwarming. It was such a joy, and I'm excited to tell more people about it now.
Thanks. I can't wait to talk about it too. It's I'm glad that you said that you even felt like it was in Iowa because, like I grew up in New York, we moved to Virginia, but I've been to so many places where I kind of think, oh yeah, it could have taken place here too. So I'm glad that it kind of transcended that for you as well.
It really did. Well, before we get into it too much, we have to know what your nightcap pairing is. So what have you paired for us today?
So I'll do a couple of things for you. Okay. So my typical nightcap for myself, not related to my baseball book. I don't drink as much alcohol now as I used to. As I've gotten older, it just really like screws with my sleep schedule, honestly. But my go-to is honestly, I love hot tea. So my favorite is like a hot toddy. I do chamomile tea every night. Like that is my nighttime tea. So I do chamomile with honey and lemon, and if I have it in the house, I will do a splash of whiskey, and it is just chef's kiss. So good. So good. But if I were to have, like when I wrote Meet Me Under the Lights, and we'll talk more about this I'm sure later, but I think a ball game, and if I'm at a ball game, it's going to be a beer. But this is going to sound silly, like I don't want a beer in an aluminum bottle, and I don't want it in a can. I want it to be, this is going to sound gross, I want it to be like semi-warm in a plastic cup with too much foam on top. Like that's nostalgia. I want my beer, I want my hot dog, and then I'm good as far as baseball goes.
That is the perfect pairing. It has been too long since I had a semi-warm beer in a baseball stadium.
In a baseball stadium, that's what needs to be there. And they serve like gorgeous cocktails and stuff now and high end, and that's great. Would I get one? 100%. But I also I want a beer. I want a draft beer, nothing fancy, and a hot dog.
I feel like the last time I had that experience was when I went to like a minor league game in Naples, Florida. And it's been years. It's been years. Oh, it's been so long. Okay, well, I love those. I'm also, as I have now mentioned on far too many episodes, on a bit of a tea journey. So
Good.
I love that so many people are bringing different teas and some options. I'm right there with you in that I can't have an actual nightcap with alcohol in it too late.
Yes.
Because I will wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I do love a hot toddy. Those are really good. Perfect. I love those pairings. Well, we have a lot to get to, and I want to start with, because I'm fascinated by it. It sounds so fun to me. But you're an elementary school librarian. We were just talking, you're getting ready to go back here soon. So that's, in some ways great, and in some ways like the summer is ending, and that's a little sad, a little bittersweet. What are some of your favorite things about being a librarian?
So, being an elementary librarian is really interesting. It allows me to explore my theater side. I was always that high school English teacher that if I could dress up while teaching, I was going to do it. We're reading the Odyssey. Mrs. Miller's going to bring this in. She's doing Shakespeare. She's going to have this hat on, right? Like, it's just who I was as an English teacher. But as a librarian, the kids buy into it so much more. And my grades that I teach, my school's kind of special. It's grades 3 through 5. So I really get the sweet spot. I don't have the kinders and the small, super squirrely ones. And I'm sure those are fun in their own regards. But I really like 3rd through 5th grade because it allows me to dig into that middle grade literature, and middle grade books I have grown to love so much. I love my YA, I love my adult, but I have such respect for middle grade writers and the way they tackle big subjects. So for me, the reason why I became a librarian was not because of the technology. I love teaching research. I just wanted to help kids find their favorite author and to find a book. And so I call myself like a book detective. When a kid comes up to me and they're like, I want a book, but I don't know what I want. That is the best question for me. I love unpacking that. And literally I say, let's take a tour of the library, and we'll just walk to different sections. That's just the most fun. And to follow that, when a kid comes back and tells me, like on the way, like they're running down the hallway on the way to the bus and they're like, I'm on chapter 3, it's so good. And they're saying it as they're going out. I'm like, that's great. That makes all of the other behavioral drama and professional development garbage just kind of get washed away, is when I can see that a kid's made a connection. That's what kind of keeps me going, for sure.
You make me want to be a librarian.
Do it.
I'm just like, that sounds so magical and so powerful. And I know that our podcast is mainly for adults. Sure. Unless people are listening with their kids in the background and everything. But I frequently think about just how impactful literature was for me when I was that age, and to be able to share that with other, especially, yes, the kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, that's fun. But 3rd through 5th grade is such a fundamental, like, I have some core powerful memories.
Yeah, same.
Of 3rd through 5th grade. So that's really interesting. So is your school district, are there a lot of students that they like divvied it up that way, that it's 3rd through 5th?
Honestly, Bria, I don't know why this. So, and it's interesting. I have a very large school district. We have, I think, maybe 10 elementary schools. And I know there's probably people listening to me like, hold my beer, Cassie. I've got 20 elementary schools, and that's fine. Small town. But my elementary setting in my town where I live is the only one that has a primary school, which is pre-K 1 and 2. Or pre-K, K 1 and 2, and then mine, which is grades 3 through 5. The rest of it is very traditional. You have your normal middle schools, 6 through 8, and then your high school is 9 through 12. But for whatever reason, my town, we just have that split. And it might have been a size thing. I know that they've like redistricted and stuff. But like you said, it's a really good pivotal age for these kids. Maybe even more so than middle school as far as development kind of goes. So I'm really thankful that I got in. It's where my kids went to school. It's in the same strand that my husband teaches. So it's really neat that we're all kind of connected in different schools, in different buildings.
Very cool. Yeah, that just blows my mind a little bit, because it's not this way anymore. It's gotten too big in little old Iowa. But my middle school that I went to is K through 8. So
Whoa.
we had the full spectrum of, I mean,
Wow.
just so many. And yeah, it's changed now. It's definitely changed because of a lot of growth in that area, but it's just wild to think about the differences
I
between
think
all of
about the
that.
height differences. Like an eighth grader with a wee little kindergartner, that's adorable. And they're all on the same bus, too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. That's great.
We're all taking the same bus, and then we did have another middle school in the district. That one was just 6 through 8, but mine, yeah, the one that I went to was K through 8. So
Wow.
very different experience.
Yeah.
But well, what are some, I know that this is hard and just hearing even you talking about it, but what are some of the books that you find yourself recommending often to the students, or some of your favorite recommendations?
Ooh, gosh. Oh. So let's see. Last year, and I don't know if it's a reflection of the times, but the kids really like horror. It's so funny. Like, you'd be amazed at how many of these fourth and fifth graders were watching Stranger Things. They'd be like, Mrs. Miller, did you watch the last season of Stranger Things? And I was like, yeah. Did you? And they were like, yeah. I was like, what? Did you cover your eyes? No, I can't. And Steve, I'm like, how? Huh? No.
I was scared.
I know, same. But so I always tend to, that's usually an area of the library. I don't have my library genrefied. It's all Dewey Decimal. I like my type A, everything by author, but I put genre stickers on them. So we go towards the creepy eyeball stickers a lot. And Lindsay Curie is a big one. Mary Downing Hahn is another really good one. Who am I missing? There's a couple others. India Hill Brown writes some really good middle grade horror. So any of those kinds of that kind of genre is a good one. We're getting more. Also, I have a lot of students who are like, I want a book that makes me cry. Okay. Sure. So they really like a lot of the heartfelt stories too. Wild Robot was really big, I think, because of the movies. Catherine Applegate, Wish Tree is a popular one that gets circulated a lot. They love to go back to horror, The Last Kids on Earth, and now that that's getting turned into a Netflix series, I know that's gonna skyrocket. Fun fact: my editor is actually the editor for that series too, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of some other
So
ones.
is Goosebumps still a big
Yes,
thing?
thank you. That's what I was meant to say. So Goosebumps and I Survived are also still really big. It's funny, some of my author friends, we were at a writer's retreat, and they always ask me, what's being circulated? And I can never have just one genre. It's so wide, which is wonderful. But Goosebumps definitely coming back, especially because they're turning a lot of them into graphic novels. And I Survived because it's chapter book and graphic novel form, and the Percy Jackson series, Rick Riordan, because of the awesome show on Disney Plus. I couldn't keep it on my shelves. That's definitely the most popular series that kids were devouring. They love their Greek mythology.
Oh, okay. I love that. I love that there are still some ones that were so impactful for me as a reader that everyone's thinking about. It also it makes me feel, selfishly, it makes me feel a little bit better because we frequently talk about reading scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yes.
And how we read that in third grade, fourth grade. And has stuck with me forever and ever and ever. And I always think about that. I'm like, are kids still wanting that today? Or was that just an us?
No, they do. They really do. They also really are getting more into the nonfiction stuff. I end up getting a lot of gaming books for Minecraft and Fortnite. That's another way I can this is a horrible word, but I'm going to say it, that I can kind of like trick kids into reading. I think they think, if I'm going to be a reader, I have to pick a chapter book. No, you're just getting a book. Graphic novels are books, and your nonfiction stories, and your picture books, and your short story collections. And so a lot of my reluctant readers will gravitate towards my cookbook section and my gaming section. I've got books on Pokemon because Pokemon's always popular, So that it's fun to have those sections and to see the kids have those options for sure.
I love that. Like, you make me want to be a librarian.
Oh,
I just
thank
think
you.
that is the coolest job, and so
It's
important
fun.
too.
It is. Especially in these times, we need to protect our books and protect our kiddos.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Pivoting a little bit, because otherwise I'll just talk your ear off about being a librarian the whole time. as we will get into, Shakespeare and theater are an important element of your book. What is your favorite Shakespeare play?
Ooh. Oh. I always feel like I give a different answer depending on like my season of life when people ask me this.
Oh, that's okay. I actually think that's
You
so
know?
true.
But I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Shakespeare and any good book. When you read it at a different phase of your life, you appreciate it differently. I really like Othello. Othello is always my go-to. I think it is extremely relatable nowadays when you think about betrayal and the juiciness that the kids like in their shows and things, that kind of scandal. Othello is so good. And on the lighter side of things, I just love Much Ado About Nothing. But honestly, Brie, I really like the sonnets. I could sit there and read the sonnets. I think they're beautiful. I love the rhythm of the iambic pentameter. So probably Othello if I had to pick a play, but I really enjoy the sonnets. Those are the ones that I come back to the most when I'm reading.
Well, since you brought it up and I was digitally stalking you, did I see that you actually, like when you first started writing Meet Me Under the Lights, that you initially wrote a chapter or in iambic pentameter? Did I see
I wrote
that?
a prologue. I
Oh my gosh.
did. And it's so funny you said that because I was cleaning out my desk area the other day and I found my original printed copy of Meet Me Under the Lights. Its original title before I even queried it to my agent years ago. We're talking 2018. Okay, Bree, like this was probably back in 2016 when I was first editing it. Was called Teach Me, what was it? Teach Me How to Forget, because I was pulling that line from Romeo and Juliet. And my prologue was a copy of Romeo and Juliet's prologue, Two Households, Both Alike in Dignity. I did Two Families. I wish I had it on me. But yeah, I wrote it in iambic pentameter and I made it about the Crowleys and the Fultons. But I think I'm gonna do that. I'll post that to Instagram. I'll do a little page about that because I think people would like to see it. I think it's pretty cute.
Oh, please do.
I will.
I loved that little factoid
Yeah.
as I was just scrolling through. I
Good
was like,
job digging.
that's so cool. It's such an awkward thing to be like, so I've been heavily stalking you like way back.
Totally fine. You're good. You're totally good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, on the other side too, baseball central
Yeah.
to your story as well. Who's your team?
Yankees. Sorry. I
You
know
are from
people
New York.
either
You're from New York.
people either love them or hate them. And my God, I just want them to go to a World Series and win. It's been so long. But yeah, I was born in New York. You were not allowed in my grandmother's house unless you were a Yankees fan. She always had a Yankees game on. And that's my team. I love my boys in pinstripes. So
Very, very nice. Always fun. I grew up in the Midwest, so in Iowa, that's the one thing about like professional sports there is you have no professional teams.
it's the same in Virginia too. We don't have
Yeah,
any.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So everyone kind of gets pulled in a different
Yeah.
direction. And I'm not going to call everybody fair weather fans or anything like that.
You can. It's
but-
okay.
But it's kind of true because then if you go north, you've got the Twins, and if they're doing well, then people in Iowa tend to be very supportive. If you go south, you've got the Cardinals. And so and then if you go east, you've got the Cubs. So
Yeah.
it all just depends. There are a few that feel very strong about their team, but
Sure.
and I'm like, you know what? I like a good game.
Well, and I saw someone posted something about girls. Oh gosh, well, it was a reel or something about, and it was a New Yorker, so he had a great accent. He was like, "Let's talk about girls in Yankees hats. You go up to a girl in a Yankees hat, you better be ready to talk baseball, but it only depends on like if she da 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 da. They either wear it for a fashion statement or they know their stuff." And like that's me. When I wear a ball cap out, it's always a Yankees hat, and I often wonder like when people kind of give me that look, oh, is she a fair weather fan or something? Like, step right up. We'll have a conversation about the roster from the 90s that I desperately wish we had still today. It was a different era for sure. I was very happy to grow up in that time, but also it's sad because we just don't have that team anymore. Maybe one day, hopefully.
It's all right, not baseball, but I feel that way about my Florida Gators. So,
We feel that way about the Virginia Tech Hokies as far as football goes too, so I've got you.
well, gosh, what were my husband and we had ESPN on the other day, which is right now it's Shark Week, so
Right.
I do get to take over the TV right now because I'm like, it's Shark Week, so that's all that
Yeah.
plays. But otherwise, we really just have sports on. And gosh, the other day they were doing a preview of college football coming up, and someone brought up Florida, and they were just like, yeah, and I don't think it's the year because of X, Y, Z, blah blah blah. And I was standing there, and I looked at my husband, I was like, okay, harsh.
Saving us the time, I guess. We won't buy tickets.
Okay.
That's
Like,
funny.
wow. Give us a little bit of credit here. My goodness, this hasn't even started. But all right. Do you? So you probably then do you have a favorite baseball movie or
Ooh,
TV
yeah.
series? Although I can't really think of a TV series that comes to
There
mind.
was one that came out. Oh, and Jennifer Icapelli's gonna kill me if she sees this and I don't nail what it was called because she told me to watch it too, and I did. And it had the dude that plays Zach from Saved by the Bell. I'm totally blanking on his name.
Oh, Mark Paul.
Yeah, Mark Paul Glosser. He did a baseball show, it's like something with pitch. It was really good. And he plays a catcher. Yes, he's a catcher. But baseball movie, Field of Dreams. And so when you were talking about Iowa, like there's so much Field of Dreams references and Meet Me Under the Lights, and that's that cornfields and stuff. I put that on the other day just because I felt like I needed a good cry. I cannot watch that final scene with him on that field without silently sobbing. I love everything about that movie. I love the music, the character. It is just, in my opinion, the best baseball movie. And A League of Their Own is great. And I love The Sandlot, and I love Rookie of the Year. But like, Field of Dreams will always be my number one.
Have you ever been in person?
No, I want to go so badly. One of my friends went and took a bunch of pictures and sent it to me. And I know they're getting ready for their big Field of Dreams game soon. It's always in August, right?
It is, and that's relatively new that even happens. And I think it is so cool. But yeah, if you ever have the opportunity,
I will.
Highly, highly recommend. Oh gosh, this is going back like 13 years ish. Very first time I took my husband, who I mentioned was a baseball player, to Iowa. My whole family, there you go. We have to take him to the Field of Dreams. We have to take him to Dyersville. We've got to go. And so we take him out there, and it's just a normal weekend day, and all of a sudden these men walk out, like in the movie, these men walk out in their baseball uniforms, all of that. They were extras in the movie, and they come out regularly and play with people on the field. So
I have goosebumps everywhere, Brie. My gosh.
Kelly, I couldn't have planned that if I'd tried.
It was destiny.
It was such a magical moment, and I can picture the photo of the three players, my husband, my brother, who he's older, but like at the time he was just a little pipsqueak. He was so little, and we're all standing there. It is one of my favorite memories. But even if that doesn't happen, it is such a cool experience. It's
a bucket list for me and my family. We will get there.
Okay.
For sure.
I can't wait. No matter when that is, I can't wait to see the photos from that adventure. It will be very, very cool. So let's get into Meet Me Under the Lights a little bit more. Otherwise, I'll just talk to you forever and ever and ever. When did this idea come to you initially? Did I also see correctly that it was like a bet with your students a little bit?
Yeah. The initial idea came because we have a minor league team right up the road from us. And the baseball stadium is gorgeous. It's called Calfee Park, and it's in Pulaski, Virginia. And it literally is plopped down in the middle of the mountains. And when my family first started going, I just remember pulling up, like you're driving, and then all of a sudden, boom, this field is there. And you're like, how does this even have the space to exist? And all the town came out. And while we were watching that game, that's when I was like, what are you doing, Cassie? You need to write a baseball story. Like, this is the novel that you should have always written. Because as most authors will tell you, normally, I don't want to stereotype it too much, but I would argue that more than likely the book that the author sells is probably not their first book that they've ever written, right? We kind of have to get out some of the other ones just to prove that we can do it. That was the case with me. I wrote a wildly dystopian book first because those were the books that I was reading, Hunger Games and Divergent and stuff. But I had this idea at this baseball game, and I thought, what if like this town came out, but it was a fight for ownership of this stadium? And so I took that back with me to the high school creative writing classroom. And that year, I had an advanced creative writing class, which was always in the spring, so like creative writing part 2. And the students were working on larger projects. I had a lot of musicians in that class, so they were actually doing like EPs and creating albums and working on their lyrics and cover art, and that was really neat. And I had some students writing novels, and I was just kind of going, and I would write when they would write. I think it's really important that teachers model what they want their students to do. And so in a way to trick them to share their stuff out loud, because it is important, and that's how a lot of times we catch pacing issues and even those little nitty-bitty typos that you can read over, is reading your work out loud. I told them, you share some of yours, I'll share some of mine. And so what was beautiful about Meet Me Under the Lights is when it finally got published, so many of those students came out of the woodwork, and this is over 10 years ago, Brie. And they were like, Mrs. Miller, is that you? I remember that. As much as the drafts had changed, that first chapter was almost always the same. It was a good first chapter with Eliza in that party running into Reed and hitting him with a ball. So it was really, really neat for them, I think, to see, holy cow, my teacher was working on that for a decade, and now it's on the shelf. So it was a good lesson, I think, for them in patience and perseverance.
That is, well, and probably very inspiring too. That is so cool. That's unlike, everybody's journey to this is always different, and I love getting to uncover that. But that is just such a unique path that you have followed that brought you here today. And yes, you're 100% correct in that. I feel like nearly every author I've ever talked to they've been writing for a very long time.
Yeah.
It is often not their first manuscript that gets published. It's such a testament to like what the craft is, and taking your time with that, and patience and perseverance. It's just one of, maybe that makes me such a nerd, but I love getting to hear about that and like seeing people really chase that dream. I think writing is just, I don't know, it just captures that so well. Well, before we get much further, we probably should talk about what the book is about for people that haven't actually had a chance to read it yet. It came out earlier this year. What is Meet Me Under the Lights all about?
So I would describe it as The Notebook, but with baseball. And it's in a small town in a small fictional town in North Carolina called Fairfield. And I came up with that name because I wanted it to be ironic. There's nothing fair in Fairfield, So takes place during the summer in a small town, and it's about two rival families. And one of those families who come from that blue collar, hardworking farming class, lower class, so to speak, they've kind of had enough. They put the work into this stadium, but it got bought out from under them, and they decided, rather than foreclose on our farm, maybe if we own the stadium, we can get it back. So they enter into a bet with the wealthiest family in town. Whoever has the better record at the end of the season gets to keep the stadium. And of course, because nothing can come easy, the grandson from one family and the daughter from the other, who are old kind of frenemies, so to speak, rekindle something, and sparks fly, and you've just got a Romeo and Juliet kind of love story without, of course, the tragedy. Yeah.
Right. Without the heartbreak.
Without the heartbreak. There's a little bit of sadness, but not so much.
But not quite to that extent.
No.
Yeah, I think we all remember the first time we either read or watched Romeo and Juliet, and
especially with Leo DiCaprio. That beautiful,
yes.
Formative movie, but ripped us apart.
It sure did. So that's the good news for everybody. Like, that this one is not going to absolutely break you.
No.
Although, yeah, like you're saying, you watch Field of Dreams for a good cry, and your students every now and I'm the same way. Like, I get to a book and I'm just like, you know what? I need a good cry.
Absolutely.
I have to space those out.
Yes.
I can't do those back to back because I feel them arguably too much. And so then we need something just lighthearted but still meaningful, like your
Thank you. Yes, if I can be that author for people, I need something that's a heart hug. That's a victory for me. That's a W.
Well, and right now, I mean, it's the perfect summer escape. You feel that with the backdrop of everything going on in that town. Now, it is told in dual perspectives, dual POV as well. So we get Eliza and Reed. Was one harder than the other for you to really get into the headspace too?
Honestly, no. They both kind of came together pretty easily. The one place I struggled at first was to make sure that they didn't sound too similar. So I had a stylistic kind of change. I ended up going back when I was revising years ago. I knew that I had to change the way that they spoke as far as like Eliza being a theater person, having that wealth. I needed her to have a better vocabulary. Do you know what I mean? So if you pay attention, she has more of the longer sentences. As a theater person and someone who thinks about light and art, I imagined that her writing would be a little bit more lush as far as the descriptions go. And then with Reed, he's still observant, and you're going to get that beauty that comes with the smells and sights of the farm and the ball field and the dirt and the grass. But Reed, I made it a little bit more punchy. So his has got more of the language, and I did more of the fragmented kind of thoughts, that shorter thing, so that hopefully if you forgot where you were, you could immediately go, oh, this is definitely Reed's voice. That's what I tried to do.
Oh, that's so interesting. No, you definitely did, but just to hear about your thought process behind all of that now too, that's fascinating. Also, with each chapter, there is a quote at the beginning too, which I love that.
Thank you.
As someone who, I was telling you off the pod, I don't think it was on, how I was a baton twirler. So like in baton twirling, this might blow some people's mind, but in competitive baton twirling, interviewing is a heavy, heavy, heavy component of what you have to do.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
And that's I'm sure opens up so many doors for people with possible red flags and all sorts of other things. But all that to say, like, I credit the interview aspect a lot to being able to talk to random people. And so, but one of the questions that you always had to be prepared. You had to be prepared for random questions, and from a very early age. So when you're younger, you have to be prepared for questions that are like, what's your favorite color? And then you have to be able to talk about that, and not just in a way that says my favorite color is blue. And so one of the questions that I would get a lot is, what is your favorite quote? And so I could be totally off base, but I always sort of attribute that question formed my love for when writers include quotes and other works throughout their books. So do you have a favorite quote either from Meet Me Under the Lights or just in general that kind of repeats in your head to yourself?
Definitely. And the quote that resonates with me the most is also the first quote that you see in Meet Me Under the Lights. That's under the dedication, and it's from A League of Their Own, when Tom Hanks says, "It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everybody could do it. The hard is what makes it great." Like that, if I need to honestly paint that above my desk here, because you can apply it to so many things and to literally every season of your life. You know, if it's hard, good for you. You're actually doing something that is meaningful. If you're not challenged, you really need to kind of sit back and ask yourself, why am I here? Where is the value in that? So that quote has always been a go-to quote for me. You know, as much as I love Field of Dreams, that's probably my favorite quote of all time. And I'm glad that the quotes for the chapters resonated with you. That's something that you will actually find in all of my books. I will always have quotes at the beginning of every chapter, and I always like for them to foreshadow a little bit about what's to come. I've talked to my editor about this. I wish, even in adult books, give me chapter titles. I think they're fun. It can even be a quote from the actual chapter ahead of time. It's just, it's a go-to thing when my students flip open books, Brie. A lot of times they look at the back cover, and if there's a table of contents, they look at the table of contents, because those chapter titles can really give them a good sense of what the book is about and the vibe. And I think quotes can work the same way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about an adult book that has chapter titles, and so as of right now I can only think of one, and it's not out yet, but it's You Know Why by JT Ellison.
Okay.
I kind of want to pull it up because I'm reading it on my phone.
I'm trying to think if
because
there's
I
other
have
ones.
and I want to say yes. Oh, she does. So
See,
like,
I love that.
it's just a little something.
Yep.
Yeah, and too, it kind of sets me up for, in a good way, the anticipation
Yes.
of that chapter.
Yep.
But yes, I absolutely loved the quotes. Well, you've talked about it a couple of times now, the years that it took to get to this point. Can you I was going to say, give us the short version, give us the medium version, or the long version that kind of walks through, like, when did you decide to query this? What was that process like up to now? The book is officially out, and how do you feel?
Oh gosh. So I started writing seriously probably in maybe like 2012, because my oldest was just over a year old. And I was like, this is fine. I have a toddler. I'm teaching high school English. I can write a book. Sure, we have time for that. We did not, but we made time. So yeah, I started writing seriously. I wrote that dystopian book that was riddled with plot holes. But it felt good to write it. I was like, hey, I just wrote 70,000 words. This is cool. I've never written that much in my life. I queried that, Brie, and got hundreds of rejections. But this was also during a time when Twitter was really big and not toxic. And we had pitch wars and all kinds of really cool just aesthetic postings that we were doing. And it allowed me to become friends with a lot of writers that moved through the process, I don't want to say faster than me, but they were already a little bit further along than me. So it's been really neat to finally kind of catch up with them in a bit. So many of them were so wonderfully kind after I announced that this book was sold, dropping into my DMs and like, I knew it would be your turn. And like, for these wonderful women to come out and support me like that, it just, I'm going to cry. It means the world to me. But I queried that dystopian book for a couple of years and was like, no. Got inspired to write the baseball one, kind of felt it in my bones that this was the story I was supposed to tell. Queried that one, got far less rejections, and found my agent, and that was eventually 2017. Then my agent and I worked on Meet Me Under the Lights and revised it a good bit. I had a lot of extra subplots at that time, and we kind of took some of that out, so the focus was more on Reed and Eliza. And when we sent that out, we got a revise and resubmit an R&R from Dana, my dream editor at Viking and with Penguin Teen. And she was like, I love it. I would love for it to be more like The Notebook, but with baseball. Can she make these changes? And she gave me like a 2-page edit letter, which my agent had said, this is unheard of. I think you should take advantage of this. I was like, absolutely. We turned that in, Brie, and it was February of 2020. March came and everything shut down, and it was radio silence for years. During that time, I wrote 2 more books. I wrote a novel in verse, and I wrote a book that was like, I call it my music book. Just because my agent was like, Cassie, you have to do something. You can't just sit around. You'll go crazy. I was like, okay. Wrote 2 more books. And just when I was kind of putting Meet Me Under the Lights away in my heart, Dana reached out and was like, I am sorry it took me so long, but I would love to talk to you about Cassie's baseball book. And that was in 2024. I kid you not. 2024, Brie. So we signed that, changed the title from Under the Lights to Meet Me Under the Lights. Working with Dana is incredible. She gives great notes. She has a vision that I wish I could jump into her brain, as weird as that sounds. And yeah, while Meet Me Under the Lights was, working through the editing phase and stuff, I took that music book and I had an idea for a farmer's market book, and we wrote those into kind of proposals and sent that to Dana, and they bought both of those too and had to make a change for the farmer's market to make it Christmassy. So yeah, what was 10 years of waiting turned into 3 books over 2 years once everything comes out when it's supposed to come out. Like, how crazy is that?
I mean, I'm pretty much speechless because that is, how do you not lose hope in that?
I wish I had a good answer for you. I think for me, you have to have good people behind you. I was very blessed. Had I done this as a 20-something-year-old, I don't know that I would have stuck with it. But I had people counting on me. My husband was in my corner, and he knew, you got to do it, Cassie. I had my boys, because by then I had 2 boys, and I guess I just asked myself, what do I want my boys to see? They see their mommy going downstairs and working, and they're sitting on my lap, and they're watching me type things, but they can't read it yet, so that's good. And I have my students. I had my students. So for me, it wasn't just about doing it for myself. It was about showing a bunch of people you have to keep going. You owe it to yourself. You did all this work. You cannot call it quits yet. And I am a very stubborn person. So it just kind of, between my stubbornness and my family, and especially my husband, I just had to keep going. I had to do it.
That is incredible on so many different levels. So this question doesn't feel like it does it justice. How do you feel today with your book being out in the world? How did that debut day feel? I read a little bit of like your thoughts about it on that day.
Yeah.
How do you feel today?
It's still surreal, Brie. Like, I still have to remind myself, oh, my book is out. I know it's there, and I don't want to say I forget about it, but I have people sending me pictures. A couple of weeks ago, someone saw my book in an airport, and I was like, oh my gosh, my book's in an airport. And I had forgotten that was a bucket list item of mine from years ago. So I feel like I'm checking off these bucket list items that I'd forgotten I had made for myself. And I'm just constantly surprised by all of these little milestones. You just, when you're querying, you have kind of a mindset of, I'm going to get an agent, I'm going to do a book deal, I'm going to make a Netflix show, and I'm going to make it. And you just don't realize that there's so many other smaller moments that happen in between. Like, I cried when I saw my contract because of the Penguin Random House logo. What? I cried when I saw my box of ARCs because of the penguin on the box. How is this my life? I still have to pinch myself. And even though I've already experienced it, even opening my second book's box of ARCs was still just as magical as the first. So I don't know. I think waiting as long as I did really taught me to just value every single tiny moment, every edit letter, every aesthetic that someone makes for me or reel. It's just beautiful. You really have to find joy in the smaller moments. I think if you try to live like that, you'll be happier in the waiting.
Yeah, I think that applies to so many different professions or creative spaces. That is, haven't written a book, but same thing. Whenever we get an email that's, you see the little penguin, or they're like, and we're with Penguin, and how about this book? It's surreal to me too, that they're like, and do you want to talk to this person? And there are times that I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, did you find the right email address? No.
How cool is that for you though? Like, were you an avid reader in high school? Did you read a lot of books and in college? And are you, do you have to remind yourself that, like, oh my gosh, this is what I want? And what's that like for you?
Oh gosh. Yes. So I've been an avid reader my entire life. I mean, I was very much the child who stayed up way too late and kind of read under her blanket
Oh, yeah.
with the light
Same.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me. All through middle school, through high school. I will say that in high school, well, so I've always liked a range of genres.
Me too.
I like to read everything. I love, I find voices that I really love and gravitate toward, but I'm a big fan of like something new. I'm so fascinated by like the creative process and storytelling in general. So I really like that aspect and always have. In high school, I sort of felt like I couldn't tell everybody. Like I could only talk about certain things, certain genres. And then other ones, it wasn't cool yet to be interested in like fantasy. And so I did. I read all through high school, all through college. Books in general have always been a very important escape for me.
Me too.
I don't need to get like all dark, but like I have pretty bad anxiety and like have gone through bouts of depression, and books have been a constant for me. So they've
Same.
like,
Yep.
yeah, they've been able to capture feelings and in words that I could never find words for. I've always found friends in books whenever I felt lonely. So there's so many different reasons, and that's part of the reason that like, even, I mean, if we go back to high school, I used to go to the elementary schools and read to the kids.
Oh, I love that.
Because I just felt like it could change your life. I know that sounds so cheesy, but like I truly felt like books like had the power to change your life.
You're talking to a librarian, like she gets it.
And so I did, and I kept reading, and then so I live in Florida now. I don't live in Iowa, but my best friend from AP English, she is in Iowa still, and I had major corporate burnout a few years ago, and so I was leaving a job and taking some time off. Thankfully, because at that point was married. My husband had a career that allowed me to, like, very, very fortunate to have a period of time where we both said, you need a second to kind of
mental health break.
Yeah, you need to rest. You kind of need to reevaluate, which is very hard for me. As someone who's also super type A, I constantly feel like I have to be doing more.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So we said, okay, intentional break. And of course, my intentional break is like, well, why don't we start a podcast even though you've never done podcasting before? And you can for sure figure it out. I called my friend one day, and I had just said, I was like, I have this idea, and it's very millennial of us. People can put us into any stereotype they'd like, but what if we started a podcast about books? And we read books and we talked about them. And so that's kind of how it started, was like, we were just reading books and then talking about them. And the author piece, I wouldn't say it wasn't not on our radar to have authors on the show, but we were kind of like, we're two nobodies. Like, we know nobody in this industry. And but we had a couple. There were a couple that we shot our shot, and I still think about, like, talk about those surreal moments where I sent a message to an author through her website that was like, hey, we have a podcast, and we just read your book and we loved it and it was amazing, and if you ever want to come on the show, we'd love to have you. And that, when she responded, I was like, is this spam? Is this real? And so that was kind of wild, but it really changed when we did get invited to, or I want to say invited, we were included in a small book festival in Florida. And I was helping the organizer and the founder of it with some of her marketing. And then she had also asked me to be on a panel about the online book community.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I've talked about this before a little bit, but like, I had the most imposter syndrome going to this. My friend also couldn't come.
Yeah.
So I'm going by myself. Strangers, which is very weird for me. I'm I am the introverted extrovert. Like, I can talk to anybody. Okay, yep. But I am very much an introvert. So going to a random space with a bunch of people I don't know, all like very successful in what they do, was so strange for me.
Yeah,
And then
terrifying.
on top of that, they're like, and can you talk about it in front of the people? But so I mean, I did that, and we left with a list of people that wanted to come on the show, and one of them in particular was with a big five publisher, and that there are so many little things. Like, I credit a lot of what we do to just developing relationships, but it was truly that I credit that moment and that author as to like helping us get. She just said, yeah, I would love to come on the show, I'd love to talk with you guys, it seems fun. And when we got that first email from her publicist that said, hey, heard she's coming on the show, can we send you some copies, I was like, what?
Yeah, wow.
So that's like kind of what happened. It's surreal.
It is.
It's surreal. I never ever would have thought that. I knew I always wanted to do something with books. I just didn't know what it would be, and it's kind of evolved organically. Okay, I talked way too long because this is not about me.
I asked the question and I regret nothing. So sorry, not sorry.
We have to talk about your upcoming release as well. Meet Me on Mistletoe Lane, that you just kind of talked about. I haven't had a chance to read this one yet. I'm so excited. I love Christmas.
Yes.
I love Christmas. I'm the person who is not sad that summer is ending, because the fall through winter is my favorite time of the year.
The Burr months.
Yep.
It's my favorite.
Oh, same. The Burr months are almost here. We are so close. So please tell us what this one is about.
Yeah. So Meet Me on Mistletoe Lane is what I call my big fat Greek wedding, but make it Italian and put it in Christmas. So yeah, Meet Me on Mistletoe Lane is a different small town. It's in the, we have what's called the Meet Me world, is what Dana and the lovely marketing team thought could be my brand. Cassie's going to write small town romances. They'll all start with Meet Me, but they do not have to have that same character throughout, or that same town. So different town, and they're getting geared up to celebrate Christmas, and everything's going really well until the owner of the farmer's market unexpectedly passes away, and he doesn't have an heir, and he doesn't have a will, and so in comes the big New York City lawyer and his gorgeous son, and he says, you've got 30 days to get your affairs in order, but the town is like, no, bet, we're gonna convince you to sell it back to us. And so you've got every possible trope I could think of. I always wanted to write a love triangle, because for me, oftentimes I find that love triangles, authors mean well, but it's never really a triangle to me, because there's always such a clear answer. She's only with this jerk just to make the story dramatic. Like, clearly she's going to end up with him. And I'm sure people who've read my book already would say, well, Cassie, you did we knew she would end up with so-and-so. But I've had a lot of people who said that I love that both of my boys were worthy of my main character, Gianna. So we've got a love triangle. You've got friends to lovers. You've got every family member lives in this small town, so they know everybody's business as far as their group chat goes. There's a lot of Italian in there because you've got a nonna who's always up in people's businesses. And it's just Christmas chaos on the page. Hallmark, super funny. And when I wrote it so quickly, Brie, because they had said, we love this farmer's market. Can you make it Christmas? I was like, yes. They were like, can you do it fast so that it can come out in October? I was like, excuse me, what? October of the same year as my debut? Sure. But yeah, it's a Christmas small town romance about a girl who eventually has to choose between her longtime childhood best friend and the son of the man who quite literally holds the future of her small town in the palm of his hands.
I can't wait.
It's fun. It's really fun. And for the quotes, Brie, there are and you'll love that. I'm sure it's the same for you. I love Christmas movies. And so it was a no-brainer that the quotes at the beginning of every chapter come from Christmas movies. And we're talking everything from animated Christmas movies like a Charlie Brown to The Family Stone to Love Actually to The Holiday, Elf, Home Alone, and it all connects to the story itself. So you do get a bit of the foreshadowing.
Shamelessly, as soon as we get off, I'm going to send an email to see if I can get an ARC.
Oh, please do. She'll send you one. If not, you reach out to me. I'll make sure I get you something.
I could use some Christmas in July.
Yes.
Yes. I love that. Okay, without spoiling anything, can you share your favorite scene?
Ooh. There is a scene when I wrote it, I knew exactly how I wanted it to look, and I'm so glad that through the rounds of edits, it was a scene that didn't change. And it was a scene with my main character and one of the love interests dancing in the snow. And I described it as their own snow globe because it was completely dark outside except for Nona's lamp, Nona's light pole. And she said it was like their own magical Narnia. And I just, still to this day, can imagine just that quiet still where it's almost like the snow is frozen. And these people are just kind of dancing around. And this is after they make snow angels too. That is such a beautiful, beautiful scene. I could hear the music in it. It's just there. So
that is magical. You're taking me back to when a couple of years ago, my husband and I went to Quebec City for Christmas. And I can just picture that with the street lamps.
Yes.
And the snow. Oh my goodness. Oh, I cannot wait. Well, I thought about it earlier and I was like, it's going to be crazy to ask if she's even working on a third project. But then you told me that you had a third project in the works. So I know that's still in process, but what can you share about what's next?
Oh my gosh, Brie. It's wild. It's after this one too. My husband and my boys were like, so do you get a break now? I was like, I think I do, but I also don't want to say it out loud and feel like I need to knock on some wood. So my third book, because it's in the editing phase, I actually should be getting it back from my editor within this week. And I'll have about 1 to 2 months to do my edits before we send it off to copy editing. I can't tell you much. I will tell you that it takes place in fall. So if you've noticed, we're hitting all the seasons. Meet Me Under the Lights was summer. We jumped to Christmas. Now we're going to fall. And I am pitching it as Pitch Perfect, but with a fall bucket list. Yeah. So we have small town. We have a talent show kind of thing that's happening, and a main character who is quite literally learning how to find herself and find her voice, whatever that looks like. And I will tell you this, Brie, this is kind of fun. I was worried that they wouldn't let me do this, but they did, and I was so happy. The boy that does not get picked from Meet Me on Mistletoe Lane is the one that's in the third book. I told myself if I write a love triangle, the one that doesn't get picked is going to be likable enough that he gets his own story. And so I get to do that in a different town.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yeah. You've piqued my interest. I'm in for all the seasons.
Yes. Stay with me for the long haul.
Oh,
please.
I 100% will. And I think everybody else will now too.
Oh, thank you.
So with that, where is the best place for people to connect with you online?
The best place is Instagram. I am on there constantly. That is my primary platform. So if they look up Cassie Miller Writes, you will find me there in all of my glasses wearing cardigan library glory.
Wonderful. And I will link to that in the podcast notes as well. Just
Great.
Super simple. Cassie, thank you so much. This chat was just beyond delightful, so wonderful. I adored your summer escape with Meet Me Under the Lights. That is available for everyone. I cannot wait for Meet Me on Mistletoe Lane.
Thank you, Brie.
I cannot wait, which comes out October 6th. I can't remember if we mentioned that, so I do want to put that in there. But thank you so much. This was just, I had the best time.
Me too. Thank you, Brie. I love chatting about books and finding out that you're a music person as well and come from baseball in Iowa. Perfect.
And please come back.
I will.
Please.
Yeah.
We kind of hit the 2, but for book 3, we would love to have you back.
Great. Sounds awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening. The Narratives and Nightcaps podcast is a production of The Craft Co. with intro music created by Remington Haynes.
Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow at Narratives and Nightcaps on Instagram or visit our website, narrativesandnightcaps.com.
Sign up for our newsletter to always know what we're reading next, which authors are joining us on the show, and for extra bookish and beverage info.
Connect with our additional co-hosts, Jordan and Emily, as well.
You can find me on Instagram at Cozy Reads and Sips.
And you can find me on Instagram at books.bottles.
Cheers!
Cheers!